even the people in their church wouldn't want this.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, those
That's nice.
two.
That's
oh,
nice.
Yeah, I'll put this away.
Welcome to I'd Buy That for $1, a podcast about inexpensive, common, and underappreciated records. I'm your host, Sean Hartman, and I'm joined by a whole slew of guest hosts today. We have, of course, our regular co-host, Gaelic Traditionals pirated disc reseller, Peter Cook.
That is me. That's my background.
And Olympic eating chain of custody analyst, Jeremy Ruggles.
I will follow the money.
Then we have two extra special guest, co-founder of the Athletes Named Bob Preservation Society, Jon Olson.
Yo.
And
what was that? Athletic Society?
well, obviously, as you would know, you are the co-founder of the Athletes Named Bob Preservation Society.
must be some good legal stuff in Kalamazoo these days. I don't know nothing about that.
Final guest host, Neo-Latin linguistic imperialist, Jon Howard.
Greetings.
Before we dive into the record, you guys want to talk at all about your other pursuits, how other people may know you?
Who are you people? Why are you on our microphone?
Which John wants to go first?
Go for it, Howard.
I'm a record store lifer at Flat, Black, and Circular in East Lansing, and I make a horrible racket in a useless band called Hordes, and that's about it.
And you do have some dollar bin knowledge?
Yeah, we've got the deep dollar bin at the store, and we scrape them clean and give them to you for cheapo. And I found some things.
That's nice. A lot of them aren't dusted off, and you got to dust them off yourself. So
we at least take the spores off.
Mold. All right. And other John?
This is Inzane Johnny. Been dealing with this cat right here for working on 30 years now or more. Dollar bin background. My mom used to give me $10 a week for food. And Monday morning at 11 when I had my lunch, I would run to FBC and buy as many dollar records as I could and just wait to eat till I got home or whatever. Borrowed lunch from a cute goth lady or whatever. So I had been buying dollar bin records from this guy in FBC for 30 years, and it was the first place I heard like Smegma and John Bender and Haystacks Balboa was the first heavy progressive record I got. I would just grab anything and as much as I could, and then when I didn't have any money, I would just haunt the free bin. Even to this day, I went on Friday and the free bin was insane. So, I'm down to not spend money on anything, so a dollar record is money in the bank, you know what I'm saying? And like in the age of the calendar collectors and the corner bin, freakazoid fascists, a dollar bin record is just, you can't beat that, with the $80 reissues of nonsense coming out today, so
Preach
dollar
it,
bins,
brother.
man, is a way of life, you know what I'm saying? But to not get too involved, I will differentiate between the record store dollar bin and personally my favorite, the thrift store dollar bins, which is where my homeboy is from that I got in my grips. But there's such a huge difference because you're not gonna find John Bender and Smegma at a thrift store, especially on Lansing, stuff like that. So, but a good juggle of both is good. But personally, I like the thrift store ones because then it's like super local.
What you got in your grip today? What'd you bring us, Mr. Olson?
Oh, you want me to go first?
Yeah. Go.
Another quick background on the thriftiness of it. When I was a kid, all I wanted was a soprano saxophone, and the same cat that ripped off the Black Flag record from FBC for my birthday in the 8th grade was gonna go into Marshall Music and grab a soprano sax out of the display and dip. It's kind of a wild cat,
Yeah.
And for years, he was like, I'm going to do it this weekend. Finally, I think he got rolled for like drugs or something like that. So, I wanted this soprano sax more than anything. So I would go to Ace Hardware in Frandor. I would go and just make soprano saxes out of tubes and shit. You know what I'm saying? And make anything that would be a soprano sax style thing for nothing. So the idea of when I finally got a soprano, I was like, this doesn't sound like this. You know, I had a friend that was really into krautrock. This older cat, Brian Day.
Oh, okay.
You know that dude? Brian
K.
Brian K. Yeah.
Brian K. Yeah.
So anyway, you know, this is like in the gold mine years. You know what I'm saying? So it was like you would have to buy gold mine on Monday at FBC, dig through it, either call a cat or write in an auction to get a record. You know, so the written catalogs and all this stuff, your idea of the record would go insane. It would make your imagination go insane. Mm-hmm. When you finally got it, it would either be a letdown or it would be insane. Like you'd read about Zol Caravan, and it would take you 7 months or a year to get it. And when you finally got it, you're just like, oh my God, this is insane. You know what I'm saying? So I couldn't get these records. Like I couldn't get the soprano saxophone. So what I could get and what I had access to was these Christian records, local Christian records in the thrift stores. I was like, look, man, I can't get Agitation Free. You know, I can't get a Kraftwerk 2 or whatever like that. So I'll just get this stuff that's cheap and it's plentiful and you can't find it anywhere else. And I've been leaning on these MFers for years. I just spent all day yesterday in Saginaw and Flint grabbing them because they're still there in the thrift stores. You know, a bunch of Northern Soul heads in Detroit would give them to me. They'd get a big collection. They'd be like, I don't want this Christian crap. Take it, you know. So it was literally handed to me. So I was able to really dig into them, really understand the ones that are unique. I mean, you're not going to get electronics. You know, there's no Edgar Varese of this scene. You know, there's no Jandek of this scene. They're all pretty much based heavily on Christian stuff. But what you will find that is weird in them is really just amateurness and unrock and rollness, just as far as you could get. Like these are just made for the congregation and not even that.
Does some of it get a little outsider?
You can't roll to them that way because, you know, even who's Kenneth Higley, you know that dude, Attic Thoughts, Attic Demonstration, you know that record. All the outsider cats, in the back of their mind, they know that they're getting away with something. You know what I'm saying? They know they're weird. They know that they're going to get found, whatever. So there's always an element of vanity or rock and rollness to those, you know, like
self-aware.
Yeah, just totally.
Yeah.
I mean, Jandek that was the biggest thing. Like you thought that he was a total freaker, but and you know, he's checking out Chris Corsano and all this stuff. Yeah. So, you know, to find a true outsider is kind of difficult, but you know, these people have their, you know, money doesn't have anything to do with this. Sex is completely eliminated from this scene whatsoever. A lot of them were either pressed at Owasso, where Rich told me the Motown stuff was pressed, or Jewel in Ohio, or Archer, you know. So you can, it's so local. Once you get past the like, oh, this is an outsider or this is drug damage, it's not. But at the same time, it absolutely is. Like this Donna and Roy Moe record, you know, they have the stock covers. I mean, I don't think there's a covered bridge in Michigan anywhere. And
Sturgis, Michigan, they still got a covered bridge.
Yeah, maybe that's it. But I mean, this is like Kentucky or some shit. I mean, Michigan. Let me look around us. True. You know what I'm saying?
It's the clip art,
which makes it even better. And usually they'll just get the clip art and they'll silk screen the information on it.
Is there a selection you'd like to play to kind of start us out with this?
I mean, quick background is that they're both blind. It was recorded in their living room by Humphrey Recording Service that put out a pretty well-known, FBC has it all the time in the dollar bin, railroads and sound effects.
Okay. Yep.
And that's the only other thing they did. But
I know that one.
It's a husband and wife, and she collected bells from a thrift store. The way they sing, I don't know what the hell's going on with this. It's like your skin has like got an itch that it's trying to get off. There's nothing, it's just raw. I mean, just pick anything. It's super gnarly. They're talking about that they're the best Christian and all this stuff, and they just look absolutely bizarre. These records are just everywhere around here, and I can't get enough of them. You know, like, you know, when it's late at night and it's the winter and you're like, you know, a little stoned or something like this, these will just completely just put you upside down on your ass. You know, rock and roll, whatever. There's plenty of cats that did it good, but this is just local. You know, if you try to tell someone in Sweden about this shit, you know, and play it for them, they'll just be like, "Oh my god, don't ever talk to me again."
Yeah, they don't understand the significance.
And just their whole relationship with religion and you know, Michigan, it's just incredible. I mean, like in 80 years, these are going to be the things that you wish you would have gotten every single one of, and I'm damn well trying to get every single one of them, you know. So there's a lot of vocal parts and stuff like that, but just pick any of them. They're super gnarly. The ones where it's just bells are just, it's just insane. You know, it's like Nurse with Wound if he like actually had to work for his life, you know, and didn't read J.R. Tolkien and hang out with the coiled dorks, you know. So
what's the first song on there? Let's start how Donna and Roy would have wanted us to start.
The first song is Glorious Cavalry.
All right.
Oh, I like it.
Glorious Cavalry.
On Humphrey Recording Service Records. No year given whatsoever.
The album is He Gave Me You.
Yeah.
By Donna and Roy Moe.
And he also gave you an ear disease or something.
I'm excited now.
Yeah.
Once by the sin of the world I was bound, but Jesus rescued me, lifted me up, put my feet on high ground, glorious Calvary, glorious Calvary, glorious Calvary, my debt there was paid, and my soul was set free, glorious Calvary. Now I am free from the power of sin, since Jesus set me free. Joy bells are ringing, there's gladness within, glorious Calvary, glorious Calvary, glorious Calvary. My debt there was paid, and my soul was set free, glorious Calvary. Come then to Calvary, O sin.
Wow.
That was twisted.
The bells ones are super gnarly. It's just gnarly.
Yeah, we'll have to get into one of those. It gave me like the monkey with the eyes wide open at the carnival kind of feel.
The chiming, the monkey
like
shine, Stephen
deeply-
King kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like highly unsettling. Even though it was like, I mean, it was better than I expected when you described it as far as like performance wise.
Yeah, are these original songs of theirs, or they're not? They're
They're
hymns?
they come and go. I think a couple of these.
I think there's one on there that
one
was
there might be the bells ones.
He gave
okay.
me you.
But I think a lot of them are Phil Kerr was a big one. But I think a lot of them are just around their church. I mean, Didium out of Grand Rapids, you know that label? That was a big Christian label. But Grand Rapids had a big Christian scene around the vicinities. When it gets more towards the east, it gets a little more bluegrassy, you know, and then you get into Ranger and that kind of stuff. But the Grand Rapids stuff is pretty organ and choral based. It's more community. It's not like weird dudes in the woods and stuff. So it's very Grand Rapids specific. And they had Jewel press 'em up in Ohio, which was notorious for doing additives to their vinyl to make in the oil crisis to extend it. That's why a lot of Jewel presses are so gnarly, which it makes this even better. You know what I'm saying? So it's cool.
Yeah, you were saying while we were listening to it that regionally you get, when you kind of pursue this super subgenre, that you can get really different vibes.
Oh, yeah.
There's kind of regional vibes, and Michigan, Indiana, Ohio differ greatly. Or even, it sounds like you're saying even city by city.
Oh, yeah.
Geographically.
Well, the thing that me and Rich did is for our podcast is we were just doing Michigan stuff, and now that I've just been concentrating on Michigan music for a couple months now, there's so many true things that you see. Like, there's no one ever smiles. Like the Terry Knight record we're going to talk about, not a goddamn smile on that thing. No one smiles. If they're doing something, they're holding their instrument. It's like very purposeful. It's usually a picture of them outside in a not such a good place. It's everything you want to brag about Michigan being, whereas Wisconsin, it's like lots of smiles. It's like a couple. It's usually in color. One weird thing about private press Christian records and kind of Michigan records in general is there's no doubles. There's no double LPs.
Oh yeah, no,
like very few. And if they are, it'll be one record with a blank gatefold. It's just weird. And there's a complete lack of avant classical records from Michigan, which when I was talking to my wife Tova about it, she was just like, well, Michigan really doesn't have that many schools. It has Interlochen and U of M. But, in terms of like early 60s and 50s whacked out electronic records, they really don't exist in Michigan. You know what I'm saying? So it's all traditionally based, so to really look for the weird homemade stuff, it's all around you in the thrift stores.
Have you found much Michigan New Age? I haven't.
No, not at all.
No.
No. There's a lot of people talking about meditation that Archer pressed, which isn't music, but it's still New Age. And then there's like there's
16 speed stuff.
Yeah. There's the Stray Winds record, which is more haunted than New Agey or anything like that. But no, it's very like electronics and saxophones for that. Unless you go to Detroit and start to get into like the Tribe kind of stuff and the R&B stuff, saxophones don't really make an appearance either. It's so country and bluegrass based, because like Fortune and everyone, they started from the country angle, so bluegrass and country music is kind of the platform where all this stuff kind of took off. But the Christian stuff, there's really just bizarre booger eating stuff around. You just gotta, and it's for $1, man. It's not, you ain't gonna break the bank.
That is the official subgenre name.
Yeah.
Well, you were passing the record around while we were listening to it, and you talked about kind of the clip art front, but the back has actual pictures of Donna and Roy, and the vibes I'm getting are like nowadays they would just be meth heads, but in that day they got addicted to God and making this music. So
yeah, I mean they're really frightening looking, and her, I don't know if you can play it later, but her bells that she found in the trash are not very harmonious at all. If you're talking about God's power, it's 10 cents and under, at the most.
Yeah.
Let's hear a clip of that.
The bells. Do we know which cut?
That would be the third one, or I think it would be the third or fourth one. It'd be one of the shorter ones you can see in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
It might be the next. The next one looks pretty short.
Yeah, it would definitely be that.
You have a good reach there, Sean.
Your needle might reject it.
Yeah.
This is near the cross. Even weirder is that I think the smallest amount you could press with Jewel, the printing press for doing this, was 500. So I mean, it's just like, that's a lot, man.
499 more out there.
And it's a style that, another weird congruent thing about these things is there's no year. It's really hard to find the year on these things, but I'm gonna guess this is 71 or 69.
Oh, is it really that far along?
But it stopped around 80, this whole style, which is kind of sad, but there's so many of them, and you can go to like yesterday I went to Saginaw and Flint, and the thrift stores were just filled with records of this style, not as whacked out as this, but whacked out in their own way, of just church records from around there. So it's incredible. It's amazing that they're still there,
Yeah, those bells almost sounded like Ruth Underwood playing the marimba very badly. Something like that. I mean, I liked it. What was the name of that cut again? What did you say?
Near the Cross.
Near the Cross.
Yeah.
They're in near brain damage, you said.
Yeah. And the song that closes the side, or the second to last song, is Roy talking about how he's the best Christian, which is just weird, I guess it's a competition.
Self-righteous.
Yeah.
Storing up those treasures in heaven.
Well, do you know like information about these artists, or is this just like
the most you could tell is that around Grand Rapids, Didymium was the big one. They use Jewel as a pressing plant, and it just gets smaller. This is from Middleville. They gleaned what they could from the ones that were successful, because Didymium put out a couple of hip priest ones. There's a famous one, I forget who it is, where the pastor's surfing, and they would have like some surf numbers, but they would sell a lot. So they would glean the record pressing and the shine from that, and just it'd be like, a big Lansing church record. I'm trying to it'd be like Earthen Vessel, you know what I'm saying? And then you would go to Charlotte, and it would just funnel down into people playing bells from the trash. It's impossible to find. Like, real quick, we got our house refinanced, and at the end, the woman who was doing all the paperwork, she's just like, is it okay if I give you a book about my experience with alcoholism and God? And I'm just like, hell yeah, you can, man. That's cool. So she gave me this book, self-published book, about her relationship with Christ through becoming sober. And I was like, well, I collect weird Christian records, and I showed her a couple, and she's like, oh, Pastor Jim, he was looking pretty good back in those days. So it's so local that you got to be in the church to even get in there, man,
Yeah,
so it's like click times 10, like Christians with attitude style.
Yeah. Used to hang out with him. What was he like?
Yeah. Oh, he's not Christian anymore. Oh no. Yeah. So I mean, it's just genius. It's like it's in the soil around these small towns. Battle Creek was a huge spot for Christian stuff. Family Altar of Air, or whatever one we talked about a couple days ago, that was from there, and it's just Michigan's full of this stuff. It's once you tap into it, it's genius.
Yeah, and I think at surface level, it's really easy to pick up a record like this and just think oh, it sounds crazy, it's weird. But once you really think about it, there's so many other elements to approach this kind of music. So it's interesting the earnestness that they're approaching this from.
Yeah.
Whether it's they were thinking this is their outreach, this is their mission in life. They're going to record a record because that's what the kids are into, and then everybody in their area of Michigan is going to be saved from this. Or maybe it was like, this is the best music that they could create, and then because of that weird kind of clique cultist church mentality, there's no one to critique it, because it's more about the energy that they're putting into it, kind of thing. So no one's going to say oh, well, you're not playing good music because you're playing it for God, and that's all that matters. So then you get these amazing records like this, where like you said, probably half the people in their church hated this, probably got a copy just to be nice, kind of thing. And it's just amazing that the recorded evidence of this is still around and lurking for $1.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Mom's Spaghetti style too. Like Donna and Roy didn't get a record a year deal. It was one and done. So.
Yeah. Recording technology was not democratized at this point, so they're really blazing trails as DIYers, recording in their home and all that.
Yeah, this was probably their life savings to put this record out.
Well, I don't think that. I think they used, from what I can tell, a couple of people that I talked to that did records in the style. It was from church money.
Okay.
Oh.
So there was no personal money involved, so they didn't care that there was $500 to go in the trash. It was there wasn't. You wouldn't buy this. You wouldn't. You would just give it to the congregation.
Yeah. And your membership gets you a free copy.
Yeah.
Type of deal.
Well, do you know Skater Dave, right?
Yes.
He was friends with a Christian site collector, And there was a big Christian distribution service in the 60s and 70s that was in the Midwest that people would sell these just to funnel in to play on other Christian radios, but they wouldn't because there was so many of them. So that was there's no promos of this. There's no radio station copies and stuff like that. But conversely, Detroit Gospel, that's majority of them were promos and for radio play because it was such thing, but no one was playing this on the radio. I mean, country people might do it, but there was no reason to hear Donna and Roy. Just go to their house and watch them eat baby bones in the corner, you know.
Well, should we get another cut on here?
Yeah.
One more cut? Do you have any particular one?
Just keep going,
keep
man.
going.
It just gets worse, yeah.
I want to hear that one where Roy talks about how cool he is.
Yeah.
Second to last.
That's the second to last one, yeah.
What's that one called?
The best Christian that somebody knows.
Oh,
Yes.
it's right in the title.
I am the best Christian that somebody knows. Oh, challenge that rings in my soul. Lord, grant that Christ Jesus shall reign in my heart, my life and my will to control. I am the best Christian that somebody knows, that somebody knows, that somebody knows. Lord, help them to see Christ Jesus in me. I am the best Christian that somebody knows. I am the one Bible that somebody reads, the Bible they follow each day. Lord, let my life shine with the Spirit divine that points to the bright homeward way. Oh, I am the best.
I'm convinced.
It's an interesting angle. I think on the podcast, we pride ourselves in digging up old records that have no marketing or following or anything now. But this is interesting because there never was. Like, a lot of the ones we pick were big
At
in
one
their
time.
day. And
Yeah.
then,
And there was an excess of them. That's why they're $1.
yeah.
Yeah.
And this was never marketable. It wasn't even saleable. They just gave them
Yeah.
away. So
There's no UPC, no nothing. I mean, it's like the people's home addresses on there, which is just insane, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's Corwood Industries, essentially.
But even his was a P.O. box.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You know?
No, this is a really cool, kind of a different angle than anything we've done previously. But it's totally something. I mean, there's probably across the country from this time period, thousands of different records like this available in bargain bins.
Well, I get rid of the ones that are just choral. I mean, I don't get rid of them, but the ones I kept that are like this, you know, the IKEA cubes, I can show you in my room. I got like almost 2 rows of ones like this just from around here. Even they appear to be going nowhere. I want to get every single one of them. And at night, when you're, I don't know if you guys smoke, but if you're smoking, it just really fucks with your DNA like real bad when you listen to this stuff and you're like, oh my God, like the blood of Christ is almost too real.
A true rite of passage.
Yeah. I forget who told me. One of my rock and roller friends. You know the band Comets on Fire? You know
Yeah,
those?
absolutely. Yeah.
You know Noel?
I don't really know the band
The
members
guy who
of it.
played electronics, you know that dude? He told my friend Nate, he's like, you know, if in the 2000s, if you think you're going to make a rock record, you're an asshole. You know what I'm saying? and it's like, nah, well.
Ben Chasney was in Comets on Fire at one point.
Yeah,
wasn't he?
yep. You either look at old rock or new rock or something like that, or you just take a right turn and don't deal with rock at all. And that's why I like these.
I think I found a lot of record collectors I've encountered have that in common. Once you dive in far enough into these subgenres, rock and roll just seems increasingly kind of boring. There's just so much interesting shit that like no one is digging up like this. And like once you hear more and more of this kind of complete weirdo stuff, then the same hard rock records that everybody else is looking for just seems a little too standard.
Well, it seems like the cats that do it right are the Dirt Bombs and like Detroit style stuff, because they reference and their knowledge of the history of rock and roll is so much better, and they add a lot more to the ingredients rather than just a boner and a $20 off from Guitar Center. You know what I'm saying? Which I don't think anyone wants to hear that. Might as well just go to Sweetwater, I guess. Yeah.
And we were just going off the other day about the hundreds of bands that want to be Neil Young now. And,
Oh, God.
and
It's
the-
like
the
Neil
jam-
Young's done that enough already
Yeah.
himself.
The jamming stuff.
You talking about Beyond?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's as tired as like, yeah, we know you can finger pick now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Got-
you
you
used
know-
to play punk rock, now you can finger pick.
Yeah, you used to play electronics through a broken Fender amp, but you know you got bills to pay and a kid, so you got to show everyone you can play. So, oh my God, Neil Young's the best, which is mostly to do against Sebadoh, because that Sebadoh dude was like, Neil Young is awesome.
Lou Barlow.
Yeah, and then all these cats were like, yeah, man, Neil Young, Harvest, man needs a name made. Check, you know,
Everyone's favorite Neil Young.
yeah.
Well, yeah, thank you for bringing this LP. You know, I kind of been vaguely aware that stuff like this happened, but I haven't dove into this genre hard myself.
Well, it's also good because I'm sure you guys know Slinging Records and, Slinging Records is that the whole rarity thing is a nuisance, claustrophobic. Like, no one gives a fuck about how rare your shit is. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
a cat's going to have a rare thing. That being said, I like to show off some rare shit, like anyone else. But to have that be based upon this and that, it's, back in the day, it was rare because it represented a culture or it had a unique folk angle or something like that. These are all that, but the price tag's not involved. Who cares about the price? You go to a thrift store, you see a dude like looking shit up on Discog. You don't want to hang with that cat.
No.
That's a calendar collector.
Just looking at.
Yeah. So you got to get into the culture of it, and when you dive into this stuff, soul and all the stuff, especially that Michigan has, then that's some rare stuff that has an essence to it that will translate well over the years and not through like whatever somebody thinks is rare or something like that. Like Psych used to be a tag that you would hang out with somebody. You'd be like, oh, that dude's in the Psych. That's cool. Now you don't want it. That's like
A red flag.
yeah, you want to dip from that dude. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like someone telling you, I'm a DJ.
Yeah. So both of the Johns we have here, you have been obviously long before record collecting became what it has now. You've been involved. It's really changed in the last 20 years, especially, I would say, in the advent of the internet and those type of people looking up stuff on their phones and whatnot. Have you seen the spaces in which this happens really change in that amount of time? Like or the same people still hanging around doing this?
No, I saw a lot of the cats I used to hang with in the 80s who were doing this, who were buying multiple copies of everything. They've become hermits. They end up getting sucked into once eBay started and then Discogs, they lose their social skills. And when I see them on the street, they're like, they have a want list. They're like, hey, have you seen any of these come through your store? And it's like, oh, hi, how you doing? They can't talk about life anymore. It's just like, I have this want list from this guy in Croatia and he wants these that were pressed in like 50, an edition of 50. And do you have this at your store right now? And it is detrimental to your social skills, or can be if you get sucked into this, like chasing that down, things that are rare, not because of quality. And
you got the dude who was sweating you on corner bends. You posted that,
yeah. There's guys that still when I sell on Discogs, we get the guys who do the cut and paste. Does this have corner bends? Does it have pops? Does it have noise? It's like, you didn't read my listing, did you? It's just like social skills. Like, it's funner to find this stuff in the wild, as the other John here knows too. It's like it's the ones in the wild that you remember, like just finding random crap. Like before I worked at FBC, I found my first dollar bin score where I was like, whoa, was Cooper with his thumb sticking out his zipper, and it was in the dollar bin original cover. And I was like, in 1980 or whatever it was, I was like, wow, this is cool for $1. Get a fire under that. And then found for like $3 or something, the first Buzzcock 7-inch Spiral Scratch.
Oh, the one that Howard Devoto was on?
But it
oh,
was
wow.
the original, but before it said with Howard Devoto.
Uh-huh.
It's just Buzzcocks. And I was like, holy crap. They don't know what this is. And
The Spiral Scratch?
The Spiral Scratch.
Yeah,
but
it's great.
before they printed Devoto's name on the cover.
Uh-huh.
You get that itch for things in the wild like that, not so much on the internet. Yeah, you do see those people coming into my store too, with their nose into Discogs as they're looking, and a lot of that stuff we find. We'll look that stuff up. It's like a $50 or $80 record, and we listen to it, and we're like, "Holy crap, dude, this is awful!" And like a guy sounds like a sick seal singing or something. It's on Psych Records too, and on a lot of
sounds kind of cool.
a lot, yeah,
Might be in there.
yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely been a big shift in record collecting that I've seen. There's the people that are buying stuff just because it's rare or trying to flip something, and then people maybe coming at it from a little bit newer angle, only buying stuff that they think they're supposed to buy. The essential classic rock records to start their collection, or the things that they've seen on Pitchfork or whatever that are getting hyped. I've even had it before where someone will ask about a record in the store and I don't have it. I'll be like, hey, here's a couple other records that are similar that I think you might like, and they'll listen to it. And I've had people say things like, yeah, I like it, but I've got to go home and think about it before I can buy it. Or listen to it more.
Listen to it more. Oh,
see if anybody cool has talked about this record before I can buy it, kind of thing. Like, a lot of people have lost that simple mentality of listening to a record, do you like it, and then buying it. Actually collecting records for the music. It's kind of a lost art.
Do you
with a
guys
lot of
remember Young Soul Rebels from Detroit? You remember that story?
Yeah,
remember that?
yeah.
Dion and Dave were like, the reason that shop went down is because, and this is, nowadays everyone just listens on streaming service. If you like the Yada Yas, here's 90 watered down versions of the Yada Yas. But Dion said that his shop went down and record culture in general went down is because when we were all growing up, you would look at something and you would try to see where it came from and be like, oh, this happened because of this. And you would go back to try to kind of find the source. You know what I'm saying? And now you give somebody a record and then that's it. It came out of nowhere. You don't care the history of it. You don't, which is just, it's just weird.
Yeah, that was always the natural progression for me. You get a record, then you look at the label, you look at their mentions section, and if they mention other artists, you go try and find that.
Yeah.
Read some interviews, see who they're talking about, like who were they listening to make this record, and it's this whole world of exploration, and it's always been fascinating to me how many people just don't have any interest in doing that kind of digging.
On a positive, I still get random people, younger kids, who are doing blind buying too. They'll go around, since we have so many different genres broken down, they'll just seemingly pick like 8 different things from around the store blindly. And I'll ask them, I was like, do you know anything about this? They're like, nope, just like the cover or just trying things out. And when they're cheap, it's like, from our dollar bin and 50-cent bin, but also like $2 and $3 records. People will take a chance on that. And I could just lean over the counter and kiss them for that, but they're few and far between. But there's still kids getting that itch, which is good.
Yeah, we're advocates of that on the show, so we'd like to welcome you to our congregation.
The best record
Very glad
collectors.
to
Well, it seems from looking at your guys' site that it seems like a lot of these dollar bins are LPs, whereas singles are just dying by the day. Like a dollar for a single. You don't see them, the amounts of LPs versus singles.
Yeah, especially at thrift stores. You used to find boxes of them, and thrift stores don't even carry them anymore for the most part.
Yeah, they're really gone, and it's just like a lost art form.
The last batch of singles I got at thrift, somebody had bagged like 20 of 80s like jukebox singles with picture sleeves, and it was like $1 for an entire bag of them. And we're like, hell yeah! But I mean, they get no respect. They forgotten format.
But I mean, that being said, the 80s picture sleeve ones are the main press ones are some of the most horrible things. We Are the World times 30.
Bros, man. We got a Bros 7-inch. When will I be famous? They do that 45 on 33 is great.
Well, thank you guys for coming and talking some records with us, and come back again and talk with us. John, you have John Howard, you have a record you're going to talk about the next episode. So I think we're going to wrap this one up here. Okay. This has been I Buy That for $1, and I am Peter Cook.
I'm Jeremy Ruggles.
I'm Sean Hartman.
Inzane Johnny.
And Jon Howard.
All right.
Fantastic.
I'm gonna flip this over. Let's flip this over and hear a B-side cut to go out on. I'm curious how deep it goes.
Well, it goes deep.
Down the rabbit
Don't think you want to go down that cave.
Often I watch the clouds up in the sky.
Thank you for listening to another fantastic episode of I'd Buy That for $1. Just a reminder, we have a live event coming up in Kalamazoo, Michigan. If you're one of the less than 20% who listen to us in Kalamazoo, March 27th, Green Door Distillery.
7 p.m. doors, 8 p.m. live podcast.
That's it. How'd you know?
I had an inkling.
As always, you can hit us up, I'd Buy That Podcast at gmail.com. On whatever social media sites you like, we're probably there. And we have a Patreon, don't forget. We have premium episodes featuring 45s, singles like Mr. Olson mentioned. We'll get even deeper dive into the 45s, so come find us on patreon.com/I'd Buy That Podcast. Thank you.
As alone there he stayed, but he came back. He just went there to pray.